You have a lot of small businesses here. So what do you think the challenge is for
That's
Norway?
typical for Norway. On average, we can say about 10 to 15 employees. That's an average Norwegian business. And through the years, I believe that when we talk about the climate and the climate change, it's all about what the big manufacturers and the big business out in the world can do. More than 80% says that my business haven't really any problem with the sort of environmental issue. But how can we actually change the mindset?
Starting though with the problem of climate change isn't necessarily the way you're going to engage small businesses, because they're looking for business opportunities. They're looking to survive as a business, to make sure they can employ their 10, 15 people. And so they need to find what's the 5-10 year future opportunity that they can innovate. So what they've got a big advantage over big businesses is they can innovate, they can change, they can be more flexible. And so I think the challenge is finding or helping them find opportunities that they can start innovating around, they can start changing their business model, responding to more near-term trends such as increase in renewable energy and saying what's their business, what can they do, where can they make business value from that. I think that's going to be a big part of the new economy, is finding out how can they become bigger in their own way of operating by finding great solutions. And we're trying to put together big businesses with small businesses to find out how you create these kind of new ecosystems of value, so we start solving climate change and some of the big environmental and social issues.
I think that's interesting, is we actually can try to find a way of how we can talk to also the small businesses to actually see that this involves them as well. And as we talk about different business models, well, what does that mean for a small business? Is that only for the big one, or is it for the small one? And then it's so important that we can have examples to actually show. So we need to have some business going first, and then try to share their experience. Because when we talk about sharing economy or circular economy, what does that mean for my business? And I found it interesting, the work you are doing, because through that perhaps we can actually share some of that experience.
But I think, thank you. And I think it's how do you find businesses to work together? So I think businesses have a mindset at the moment to say, I can solve a problem by myself, or I can provide a service by myself, and saying, actually, what's my value? What's my one little piece in the pie in a bigger economy? And I think what we've been doing with the UK Innovation Agency is trying to find enabling processes and ways of bringing together these businesses to find how they can create value together. So instead of saying one business can solve the circular economy, it's saying I have one digital solution, or I have one service solution that can be part of the bigger picture. So we're trying to act as somebody who can broker that bigger picture and say, how do all these different parts start coming together? And that's kind of taking the systems lens to innovation.
And in the future discussion, for Vibeke, it is important that we actually manage to have all the businesses with us. Why that? Because we think that, for example, take into commerce or trade and service sector. Trade and service sector hasn't really been in this discussion before, but we think that those businesses, that sector, is actually a key sector for driving the changes. We can actually train and perhaps over time change the mindset for our consumers, because the consumer, they say they are aware of the climate changes and the awareness of that, but when they go into the shops, what do they buy? Still, in Norway, price and taste is important.
And I think we're going to see more, well, we need to take more responsibility as businesses to say, we're going to take away these choices for you almost, and say we're going to just design an economy. And I think with viewing people as consumers rather than as citizens. And when you ask people what they wanted to go faster, they said, we want faster horses. They didn't say, I wanted a car. So I think now we can say, well, actually, what's the next thing that they don't know they need or they don't want? And what's the role of business in shaping that behaviour change for positive good?
We have told our children that it's important to own their own, for example, land. But now you're telling me, or I'm reading, that I actually should teach my children that no, forget about it. Talk more about sharing.
But it's what's fun.
How is it working in the rest of the world?
Well, I think in the rest of the world, I think it's the same problem. That I think everyone's struggling with that. It's the world view of what we have as ownership. But we have to break that, and that's the hardest thing to break, is the way we think and see the world.
Yes.
And I think we're going to find and start moving into an economy where it will happen naturally, because I think digital's just changing the way we think about things, become more efficient and faster, and we'll start owning different sorts of things. We'll start owning the right to have something, or owning the ability to do something. So I have the right to have an experience. I have the right to have access. It doesn't mean that you have the right to own physical material. So I think that's quite interesting to say about Norway, but I'm not sure they're as different as they are globally.
Good. But where is the value creation? Where is the business model for the businesses with the sharing economy?
So it goes back to service-based. So how do you, where's value created? And value is created by what I experience, what I have access to, what I can do, and I'm willing to pay for that. I'm willing to pay to have access to music rather than pay to have. It's the same. I get the same benefits. I think we need to shift the way we think about value: social value, environmental value, not just economic value, and not just value based on resources and manufactured goods. It could be value based in trust or ability. So, what do you see as the big challenge for small businesses in Norway?
I think there are two challenges. The authorities need to include all the businesses, also the small businesses, when we talk about politics in Norway. And the other thing is that, and that's for Vibeke, is actually to support them with a new way of thinking business model. Value creation, how to create sustainability for the businesses in the future.
And I guess the one thing I'd say, add to that, is we need to look at that value creation as a network and as a system, rather than just thinking of it as individual businesses. We need to start thinking of it as, how do we create value for the whole economy rather than just as an individual.
I agree. And that way we have to share experience and the work you are doing with the work we are doing.
Brilliant.
Thanks.